This week, we're learning the Sikha of Shabbos Parshas Emor of Tavshin and Aleph, which is actually a direct continuation of the Sikha of the previous week of Parshas Acharei Kedoshim, in which the Rebbe was explaining the significance of the word Geula, what it's all about. And this week's Sikha is a continuation and explaining this whole idea with more details and more depth and so on. The Sikha could be found in Sefer HaSichas Tavshin and Aleph, page 520. So the Rebbe starts off in Seif Aleph, in continuation to that which we've been discussing regarding the Geula, that the word Geula is made up of the words Goyla, which means the Golus, with an additional Aleph. This word expresses the whole idea of what the Geula is all about, even more than the other expressions that we find in Torah regarding the Geula, the other 4 or 5 expressions, as in the Pasuk, V'yitzesi, V'yitzalti, etc. What does the word Geula represent? That all matters of the Goyla, all matters of the Golus are being redeemed. That is, that the Geula is not coming to negate the avodah that has been done in the time of Golus. Rather, it includes and elevates all matters of Golus by bringing in and revealing the Aleph, which stands for Alufo Shaloilam, the master of the world, the Eibishter, into the Golus, into Goyla. That is, that the Eibishter is the one that is in control of all matters of the world, also in the time of Golus. So that's point number 1. What Goyla, with the additional Aleph, means making it Geula. Point number 2 is that a Geula is made up dafka through the avodah of the time of Golus. Just like the word Geula is built, it's made up of, most of the letters are from the word Goyla with the additional Aleph. In a similar way, the Geula is all made up by that which we've been achieving in the time of Golus, by the Golus itself, but of course with the additional Aleph. So in continuation to all of that, we're going to focus over here on another few points regarding this, which will also add clarification and explanation regarding the avodah that Yidden need to do, standing right now, Erev the Geula, just before the Geula. So the Rebbe explains. Number 1, the Rebbe says, the Chidush of the Geula, that is, adding the Aleph, revealing the Aleph in the Goyla in both points that we mentioned before, we actually see immediately by the first Geula, the Geula out of Mitzrayim, which is of course the source for all the Geulas. The Geula of Mitzrayim expressed itself in the fact that in addition to that all the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim, as the Pasuk says, with our young and with our old, with our sons and our daughters. And the Yidden went out completely with all of their belongings, as the Pasuk, similar to the Pasuk that says, Kaspam uzahavam itam, their silver and their gold along with them. So they took along with them and they redeemed all the matters, all the things of the Golus Mitzrayim itself. So besides having their own things, they're also elevating and redeeming the things of the Golus, as the Pasuk says, that V'yishalu miMitzrayim, that Hashem was commanding the Yidden that they should take and ask of the Egyptians for silver vessels and golden vessels and clothing, and they should empty out Mitzrayim. And as the Chazal explain on the word V'yinotzlu, and they should empty out Mitzrayim, that they made Mitzrayim kimitzuda she'ein bo dogon. Mitzuda is a trap that was set to catch birds, and they would put grain inside. Mitzuda she'ein bo dogon means like a trap without any grain. Or kimitzula, the word V'yinotzlu could also mean kimitzula, like the depths of the sea where there is no fish. So they emptied out Mitzrayim completely as far as belongings, as well as the Pasuk says, V'gam erev rav olo itam, that a great mixed multitude of people also came out with the Yidden out of Mitzrayim, of course referring to the idea that many Gerim came from Mitzrayim and so on. In other words, that the Geula was not just about leaving Mitzrayim, but about elevating and redeeming the matters of Mitzrayim itself. That is, by bringing in, by revealing the Aleph, Alufei Shaloilam, the master of the universe, the Eibishter, into the Golus, which is of course the whole purpose revealing the whole purpose for which they were created by the Eibishter. Why were all these things given into Mitzrayim and put in Mitzrayim? It's obviously only that the Yidden should come along and elevate these things and refine these things, as the pasuk says, "V'yinotzlo es Mitzrayim," and through this will be fulfilled what the Eibishter promised to Avraham Avinu, "V'acharechen yetzu b'ruchush gadol," that the Yidden will leave with great wealth. In fact, the pasuk says that V'Hashem nosan escheinam, the Eibishter gave the favor of the Yidden in the eyes of the Egyptians, and the Egyptians gave them whatever they were asking for, vayash ilum. But as Chazal say, vayash ilum means that even what they were not asking for, they were also getting. The Egyptians were giving on their own more than what the Yidden were asking for. Furthermore, the word vayash ilum could also imply that they gave them against their will. In other words, even things that the Yidden weren't interested in, the Egyptians were giving them. Now, seemingly, one could ask, number one, why are the Egyptians rushing to give of their own things to the Yidden? This is usually the opposite of the nature of a person to give away what he has. Number two, even the mitzvah of the Yishalu Ishmei Yisrael, they should ask of their neighbors and of their fellows, was a mitzvah that was given to the Yidden, not to the Egyptians. The Egyptians weren't commanded to give anything to the Yidden. And point number three, the Rebbe says, after the Eibishter broke Mitzrayim already, through the 10 Makos. So why is it that suddenly the attitude of the Mitzrayim is in a way that the Eibishter is giving the favor of the Yidden in the Egyptians' eyes, that is, that the Egyptians are giving willingly whatever they want, whatever the Yidden are asking for, and even more to the Yidden, rather than the previous system of breaking Mitzrayim. Here it seems like there's a new system that they're doing it willingly rather than through breaking them. So the explanation is that since, as we said, Geula means that we need to redeem and elevate Mitzrayim itself, that is, that Mitzrayim itself needs to recognize that the Eibishter is the master of the world, the one that controls and leads the world. And the Egyptians, as they are, as we know that many of them were also chachamim, they were wise people. So they themselves understood and felt it eventually, and even those that didn't, to use the expression of the Gemara, mazlayu chazi, their mazel up above saw it, as the pasuk says, v'yadu Mitzrayim ki ani Hashem, that the tachlis of everything was that the Egyptians should know that the Eibishter is Hashem. And therefore it needed to be done. And that's actually the way it happened, not against the will of the Mitzrayim, rather with their own will, in addition to what the Yidden had to do, asking of the Egyptians. In addition to this, there was the Vayash Ilum, the Egyptians on their own are giving to the Yidden even what they were not being asked for. In fact, even against the will of the Yidden, as the pasuk says, "V'Hashem nasan escheina am be'einei Mitzrayim," that the Eibishter made, that the Egyptians should see the Yidden favorably. So this is point number one, that we were explaining before, that Geula is not about negating the Golus, rather it's about elevating and revealing Hashem in the Golus. So too we see by Geulas Mitzrayim the second point of Geula that we said before, that the whole Geula is made up of the idea of Goyla with the additional Aleph. In other words, that it was specifically through the Yidden going down into Geulas Mitzrayim, through the slavery and the pain of Mitzrayim and so on and so forth. That is Dafka, what brings about the great Geula out of Mitzrayim, that the that the Yidden come out with tremendous wealth, because obviously if the Yidden would have not gone down to Mitzrayim, they wouldn't have been able to elevate and to bring out all of these silver and golden vessels and the clothes of Mitzrayim. So in other words, again, just to summarize the 2 points. Number one is that Geula is about elevating the Golus. And number two is that the whole Geula is made up, Dafka, out of the Inyanim that were taken from the Golus, meaning to say the Golus itself adds and causes the Geula to be what it is, to be a greater Geula. So just like the way it was by Yetzias Mitzrayim, in a similar way we now understand regarding all the Geulos, which are similar and originate from Geulas Mitzrayim, up until the Geula HaAmitis VaShlema, regarding which it says, Ki meitzeischa me'eretz Mitzrayim arenu niflois, that it's going to be similar to Yetzias Mitzrayim. So this one is also called Geula because again it has these 2 points. Number one, to redeem, to elevate all matters of Golus by revealing in it the Alufay Shaloilam, revealing Hashem in the matters of Golus and thereby elevating the Golus. And point number two, it's Dafka through the Avodah of Golus. That is the way we could reach the amazing Geula. However, the Rebbe asks in Seif Gimel, we need to understand. In addition to the fact that, of course, through Geulas Mitzrayim, we brought about the knowledge and understanding of Hashem in Mitzrayim, V'yodu Mitzrayim ki ani Hashem, which is, of course, as I said before, one of the reasons for the Makos, that the Goyim should recognize that the Eibishter is the one that is the boss. He is the one that is running the world. But in addition to all of this, there was, of course, greater things that were revealed as a result of Geulas Mitzrayim to the Bnei Yisrael. The fact that Nigla Aleim Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ugalim, that the Eibishter himself reveals himself to the Yidden and redeems them, B'chvoidoi V'atzmai, in his very essence, the very essence of Hashem, reveals himself to the Yidden by Geulas Mitzrayim. In other words, what the Rebbe is asking over here is, seemingly, Geulas Mitzrayim is not only about that level of Elikus, which was revealed in Mitzrayim for the Mitzrayim, but l'cha'oira, there's much more to Geulas Mitzrayim, this greater level of Elikus that's being revealed to the Yidden. Furthermore, we know that the whole point of Yetzias Mitzrayim is Matan Torah. As the Pasuk says, the Eibishter says to Moshe Rabbeinu, when you will take the Yidden out of Mitzrayim, you're going to come to this mountain, to Har Sinai, to serve Hashem, which is, of course, the greatest Gili of Anoichi Hashem Elokecha Asher Yitzisicho Me'eretz Mitzrayim, the essence of Hashem, revealing himself to the Yidden. Or as the Pasuk says, Panim Bepanim Diber Hashem Imachem, that the Eibishter spoke to the Yidden face to face, which is, of course, a much greater Gilui than Alufay Shaloilam, than the way the Eibishter is just the master or the creator of the world. As the Pasuk says, Bereshis Bara Elokim Eis HaShamayim Ve'eis Haaretz. So of course there's that level of godliness, the way the Eibishter relates to the world. But Torah is much higher than the world. The Torah precedes the world, and the Torah is much greater than the world. So the idea of Matan Torah, L'cha'oira, is a much greater Gilui than that which is happening by Yetzias Mitzrayim. Surely when we speak about the Geula HaMitis V'Hashlema, then we will definitely have even a greater Gilui. Because in addition to the Gilui of Alufay Shaloilam, just recognizing that Hashem is the master of the world, there will be the Gilui Elikus that's completely higher than creation, as the Pasuk says, Eile Toildois Peretz. Now Peretz, of course, is one of the sons of Yehuda, but who is the one that from whom his children Mashiach comes. So the word Toildois, by Eile Toildois Peretz, says with both vavs. It says Mole. That means to say, it represents that there's going to be a Gilui Elikus of a very, very high nature when Mashiach comes, higher than Eile Toildois Hashamayim V'Haaretz B'Yiborim. That is, in the beginning of creation, there's also the word Toildois, speaking about how the world was created. Eile Toildois Hashamayim. There it also says two vavs, which Chazal explain as meaning that the world was created complete, that Hashem created everything needed in the world. But then there's Eile Toildois Peretz, which means that now there's, when Mashiach is going to come, there's going to be even a bigger Chiddush, much more than by the creation of the world, and much more even than the Geulos out of Bavel and Modai, etc. The Chiddush is going to be both in regards to the world itself, the creation itself is going to be sort of in a new state, as the Pasuk says, Hinni Boire, the Eibishter says, I'm going to create a new heaven and a new earth. Or another Pasuk, Hashamayim HaChadosh, the new heaven and the new earth, as well as the Gilui Elikus, the godly revelation that's going to be when Mashiach comes, is also going to be a much greater one. The Gilui, which is called in Chassidus and Kabbalah the Pnimius of Atik, or even furthermore, the Gilui of the very essence of Hashem down here, as we know the whole point is making a Dira Lo Yizbarech, a dwelling for Hashem, down here in this world. In fact, we know that the whole world's occupation when Mashiach is going to come, as the Rambam tells us, is going to be only within the knowledge of Hashem. And this is why the Yidden are going to be so wise, Chachamim Gdolim, knowing all the hidden things, and Yasigu Das Boiram, being able to comprehend the knowledge of the Creator, Kifi Koyach Adam, as much as is humanly possible, As the pasuk says, Ki mola ha'aretz deo es Hashem, kamayim layom achasim. And in fact, then there's going to be a chidush in Torah as well. Just like through the Golus and Geula of Mitzrayim, that was all a preparation for Matan Torah. So too, after our Golus, the Geula Amitis V'Ashleim is going to bring a tremendous chidush within Torah, the Gili, the revelation of Pnimiyus HaTorah. The deepest secrets and hidden things of the Torah are going to be revealed to the extent, as it says, Torah Chadasha Me'iti Teitzei, that there's going to be whole new dimensions in Torah that are going to be revealed. So if that's the case, the question basically is, since all of these levels are higher and considerably higher, in a tremendous way higher, than the Gilui of Alufay Shaloilam, than just saying that the Eibishter is the creator and the master of the world. We're speaking about levels of Alikus, of Torah, and of the Geula, the way it's going to be when Mashiach comes, which is even greater than that. And all of these things you're saying is part of the Geula. That means it's all included in the word Geula. So somehow we must say that also the way the Geula includes the letters of Goyla with that additional Aleph, somehow is hinting also to all of these higher levels of Elikus that are going to be revealed when Mashiach comes. So just to summarize the point of the question that we're trying to ask over here. The Rebbe originally explained that Geula means Goyla with an additional Aleph. Aleph we explained as meaning Alufay Shaloilam, that the Eibishter is the creator and the master of the world. Now that is a Gilui that happened by Yitzias Mitzrayim. The Goyim themselves, the Egyptians themselves, understood that the Eibishter is the creator of the world. But the Rebbe is asking, even by Yitzias Mitzrayim, and surely by the Geula HaSida, the level of Elikus that's going to be revealed is much higher and greater than just saying that the Eibishter is the creator of the world, the way the Eibishter is related to the world. First of all, by Yitzias Mitzrayim we had Nigla Aleim, that the essence of the Eibishter revealed himself to the Yidden. That was followed by the Gilui of Anoichi Hashem Elikecha by Matan Torah, even a greater Gilui. When Mashiach is going to come, it's going to be even greater. And somehow all of this is called Geula. So we need to understand how is the Aleph of Geula hinting to all of these higher levels that are going to be revealed, and that were even revealed by Yitzias Mitzrayim. So the Rebbe explains in Seif Dalet. The explanation is that really in the letter Aleph itself, that Aleph that we put into Geula, into Goyla to make it Geula, the Aleph itself could actually have a number of different meanings. Number one is what we've been speaking about till now. The Aleph is from the word Aluf, the master, the boss of the world. Number two, there's another pshat in the word Aleph, and that is from the word Ulfana, which means learning or teaching, understanding, as in the pasuk A'alef Chachma, which means I will teach you wisdom. A'alef Chabina. And number three, Aleph has the same letters as the word Pella, which of course means a wonder, something that's completely beyond. And therefore the Rebbe explains that in the avodah of transforming the Golos, the Goyla, into Geula, there's actually generally three ideas, 3 points. There's 3 levels or 3 stages. There's the first level about revealing Elikus in the world, the level of Elikus that's more connected to the world, related to the world. That is Alufay Shaloilam. That's the first pshat of the Aleph. Then there's a level of Gili Elikus that's higher than the world, but in some way still connected to the world in some way. And specifically, this is accomplished through Torah, which Torah precedes the world. That's the Aleph from the word Ulfana, which means learning and teaching, understanding, wisdom. So this is the second level, a level of Elikus that's higher than the world, but in some way still connected to the world. And finally, you have the third level of Gili Elikus that's completely higher than the world, in a way of Pella, in a way of it's completely removed and beyond. And this is mainly revealed through the Neflois Sheba Torah. Within Torah, we also have that aspect of Torah, which is like Pella, which is a complete wonder, the deepest secrets of the Torah, which will be revealed by the Geula HaMitis V'Ashlema. And this is the third meaning in the word Aleph. And the Rebbe explains each of these now. The first one, that is revealing that the Eibishter is the boss of the world, that comes about and expresses itself by us revealing in all matters of the world, in all matters of the Golus, the Aleph of Alufei Shaloylam, how the Eibishter is the master and the boss of the world and in the world. That means you have an Olam, you have a world. Olam is Malashon Helam Vehester, which means concealment. The world is created on its own in a way that it blocks and covers of Elikus. It's blocking and covering the word of Hashem that's constantly creating and giving chayas to the world. The whole avodah of the Yid is to reveal within the world how really the Eibishter is the master of the world, both in a general way over the world, as well as in the details of the world, as the Pasuk says, Ki eresh amecha ma'aseh etzboisecha. I look up to the heavens, your handiwork, or the moon and the stars that you have made. So we recognize Hashem in each and everything, and so too, in the details of each and every creation, we come to see the koyach hapoyel benifel, the koyach of the Eibishter, the one that's creating it in each and every created thing. And through the gilui, through our avodah of revealing the way the Eibishter is the master of the world in the Golus, that brings about the Geula, at which time there will be v'yeda kol pol kiyato pialtoi, that all creations will know that Hashem is the one that created them. So that's all stage number one in Geula. Then we have a greater avodah, a higher avodah in revealing the Aleph. This is the Aleph that means ulfana, that means learning and teaching. Aleph chachachma, aleph chabina. This is the Gilui Elikus that's going to be by the Geula HaMitis V'Ashlema, is not only going to be that level of Elikus that's related to creation, as in the first case, Alufei Shaloylam, which we call Koyach HaPoyel Benifel, revealing within the world, the Creator. There's going to be a revelation of a higher level of Elikus, that which is higher than the world. This is coming from the level of Moichin, from the level of Chachma and Bina. That's the Aleph that represents the levels of wisdom and understanding, which is higher than the Midos. That is, the world itself comes from the level of Elikus, which is the Midos. As the Pasuk says, Olam Chesed Yibana, that the Eibishter creates the world through Chesed, and generally all of the Midos. Whereas the Gilui Elikus that's coming through Torah is the Gilui Elikus that's coming from Moichin, from the level of intellect. So specifically, this is revealed through the Gilui of the Torah that's going to be revealed when Mashiach comes. As it says, Alpayim Shana Kodmo Torah Lo'olam. What is Alpayim? Alpayim, besides just meaning that the world precedes the world 2,000 years, Alpayim is also from the word of Aleph Chachachma, Aleph Chabina, meaning to say that Torah comes from the level of the Moichin, from the intellect, which is higher than the Midos. So this is all stage number 2 in the Aleph. Aleph from the word wisdom or understanding or teaching, representing the level of Torah, the level of intellect, which is higher than the Midos, higher than the world. Finally, we come to even a greater level of the Aleph. The way Aleph is the same letters as the word Pella. The revelation of the wonders during the Geula, as the Pasuk says, we're going to see wonders even compared to the wonders of the Geula of Mitzrayim, including not only wonders in the physical sense, but also the wonders within Torah. As the Pasuk says, Gal Einai v'abita, open my eyes and I will see niflois, the wonders in your Torah. This is referring to the Gilui of Pnimiyas HaTorah, the deeper part of Torah, the hidden and secret parts of Torah, which on their own they're completely removed and wondrous, completely concealed. But even that's going to be revealed, and in a way that it comes down to stage number 2, from this highest stage number 3, down into the stage of learning and understanding, and furthermore, even in to the first stage we spoke about, Alufei Shaloylam, that is that these deepest, highest secrets come through into our understanding and even felt inside the world. So just to summarize again these 3 points of the Aleph. The lowest one, the first one, was the level of Elikus, the Aleph, the way is Alufei Shaloylam. The way the Eibishter is the creator of the world, and that we are achieving through revealing in each and every part of the world the way the Eibishter is the creator of that. Stage number 2 is the Gilui Elikus that comes through Torah, which is higher than the world, and this is a level of Elikus that's higher than the world. And stage number 3 is the level of Elikus which is even completely beyond that, and that is through Pnimiyas HaTorah. To use the terminology of Chassidus within the Spheros, The first stage that we spoke about, the lowest level of the Aleph, Alufei Shaloilam, corresponds to the Midah of Malchus. This is about revealing the Malchus of the Eibishter in the world. As we are told that we have to have kavanah when we say the word Echad, in Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, then we need to see how Hashem is the king over all of creation, L'maylo, L'mata, up and down in the four sides of the world. So this is the level of Malchus, where the Eibishter is the king and master over the world. Or in a more general way, this also really includes the Midos as well within the Spheros, because as we said before, they are the source for the Eibishter's conduct within the world. So this is all stage number one, Malchus and the Midos. Stage number two is the level of Chachma and Bina, the level of Aleph from the word of Ulfan, of learning and teaching. This is the level of intellect, but it's still a level of intellect that it's in some way connected to the Midos. That is, yes, the Moich and the intellect is higher than the world, but in some way they are still the beginning and a source to the world. And finally we come to the third stage, the level called Pele, which this refers to the very essence of Chachma, the very essence of the intellect, the way the intellect is removed from the Midos, or even the intellect, the way they are connected to that which is beyond Moichin, the level of Keser, or even Pnimius HaKeser, which is completely removed from the world. Now it's known that currently, in today's day and age, the main avodah is with dealing with refining our Midos, the 7 Midos. Similar to the avodah of the Yidden in conquering the 7 nations when they came into Eretz Yisrael. As far as Moichin, as far as dealing with our intellect, it's mainly the intellect that's still in some way related to the Midos. But when Mashiach is going to come, the avodah is going to be also with the intellect, with the very essence of intellect, as it is removed from the Midos. And this also is similar to what we are told that when Mashiach is going to come, in addition to the 7 nations, we are also going to conquer the additional 3 of Keini, Knizi, V'Kadmoini. And so too in regards to the Gili Elikus that's going to be when Mashiach comes. That in addition to the first level of Elikus, which is the way the Eibishter is creating each and everything in the world, and in addition to the second level, the Gili Elikus, the way the Eibishter is higher than creation, there will also be that third level, the Gili of the very essence of Hashem down here below. And Adrabah, on the contrary, the essence of Hashem is Nizgala, becomes revealed, Dafka specifically within the Yesh HaNivra, within the created being. So says the Rebbe now in Sifhei, now we can understand that which we said before, that when we say that the word Geula is made up of Goyla with the additional Aleph, actually this expresses and it includes all 3 inyanim that we mentioned about the Gili, the revelation of the Aleph in our Avodah of Golos. There's all these 3 levels of Aleph, Alufei Shaloilam, the way the Eibishter is the master of the world, the idea of Ulfana, the idea of intellect and teaching, which we said before is the idea of Torah, and finally the highest level, the level called Pella. And it is Davka through the Avodah in Golos, by bringing in the Aleph, all 3 aspects of the Aleph, into the Goyla. This is the way we bring about the Geula and all 3 levels within the Geula, even the highest levels of the Geula. That is, again, we first of all reveal the way the koyach of the Eibishter within creation, as we say, V'yeda kol pol ki ata pi altoi, and that is the level of Malchus. We have the Gilui of learning and understanding Torah in the most perfect way. That is the Gili Elikus, the way that's higher than creation. That is the level related to Moichin, to intellect. And finally, the revelation of the Neflois, of the wonders, which this, as we said before, is the Moichin Be'etzim, the very essence of intellect, or even the level of Keser. In other words, we are not satisfied by just revealing in the Goyla the level of Alufei Shaloilam, the level of Elikus, the way it's related to creation, and that would be by utilizing all matters of the world l'shem shamayim, and doing everything, as we say, b'chol d'rochecha do'eyu, which is of course an important avodah, but we're not satisfied just with that. Rather, we draw down and we reveal in the world also the level of ulfana, the level of intellect, as they are connected to the midos, and we do that through learning Torah, and we even draw down the level of Pella by learning Pnimius HaTorah, the wondrous parts within the Torah, the secrets of the Torah, as will be explained later a little more. Says the Rebbe, V'yesh loymar, that in addition to the avodah of learning Pnimiyas HaTorah in Golus, and that's the way we bring about this highest level, it is actually also achieved, in other words, revealing this highest level of Elikus is also achieved just by the actual fact that we descended into Golus. By revealing in the Golus the Aleph, in other words, the point of what the Golus was all about. We see this in the Pasuk. The Pasuk says, V'amarta b'yomahu, on that day we are going to say, Oidcha Hashem ki anaftabi. We're going to thank Hashem for being angry with us, for giving us the Golus. Now, seemingly, what kind of thanks could we be giving for the anaftabi, for the anger, for the Golus? We cannot say that what we are thanking Hashem for is, as the Pasuk continues saying, Yoshuv apcha usenachameni, that the Eibishter is going to turn away his anger from us and comfort us. So we're only thanking Hashem for the comfort, for getting rid of the galus, because then that's not a real way of thanks. If the anger is for getting rid of the galus, then wouldn't have it been better, and we would have been thankful even more if lechatchila, if initially there was no anger at all, there was no galus at all. So somehow we understand from this that the thanks is for the anafta, for the anger, for the galus itself. So the explanation is that it's dafka through the descent in galus, in a way of anafta, that the Eibishter is angry with us. Dafka through this comes the greatest aliyah of the Geula, and the greatest parts of the Geula, as we said before, even this greatest and highest level of the Aleph, which is the letters of Pella. And when we reveal in the Golus, the Aleph, the Pella, in other words, the whole point of what it was all about, then it's revealed that Oidcha Hashem, we are thanking Hashem. Or, as the Rebbe now explains, Oidcha can also mean from the word of admitting, when we are coming to acknowledge that which is something completely beyond our understanding. Similar to a pasuk that says, Oide Shimcha, I will praise your name, Ki Asisa Fela, that you have done wonders. But here too, the Oidcha can mean something where we're admitting or submitting ourselves for something that's completely beyond us, referring to the Arichus HaGolus, to this lengthy Golus. That's a Dvar Pella, that's just something beyond us, and it's something that we cannot understand at all. Similar to the expression of the Gemara, B'mufla mimcha al tidresh, and things that are completely beyond you, we sort of cannot investigate and understand. But then this itself, this highest level itself, comes down. Kiyosisa Pella, as we said before, comes down. The word Pella, we said before, is also the same letters as the word Aleph. So it comes down in a way eventually that we could understand it, in a way of Aleph Chachma, and Dafka through the Avodah and overcoming the darkness of the Golus, we come to the Shleimus HaGili, to the greatest Gili of Pnimiyas HaTorah, B'Ge'ulah HaMitzvah Shlema. Says the Rebbe in Sevav, since the Ge'ulah HaMitzvah Shlema comes through Mashiach Tzidkenu, it's understood that Mashiach himself also has these three aspects of the Aleph of the Ge'ulah. To explain this, the Rebbe first brings the words of the Rambam, where the Rambam says the Melech HaMashiach comes mi-Beis David, from the household of David, or mi-Zera Shlomo, from the seed of Shlomo. We need to understand the fact that it says mi-Beis David, and as this is also brought in the Sefer HaYad of the Rambam, we understand, because David, we know, is Dvar Malchus, the main kingdom by Yidden is from David HaMelech. Kivan Shenimshach David, we are told, when David was anointed, he was Zoicha, he merited to the Keser Malchus for him and his children forever. We are also told that the kings of David, they are the ones that last forever, etc. But what's the remez? Why is the Rambam mentioning the idea that Mashiach also comes from Shlomo? So the Rebbe says we could explain this b'pnimiyus in the following way. In the times of Shlomo, it was similar to the situation and the state of the Ge'ulah HaMitzvah Shlomo. In the time of David, there were wars. As the Pasuk says, Dam l'roiv shafachta, you spilled lots of blood. And that's why David HaMelech wasn't able to build the Beis HaMikdash. Whereas in the time of Shlomo there was peace, and that's why he's called Shalom, because there was peace in his time, similar to the Shalom that's going to be lost in Loving. Says the Rebbe, the reason why by Shlomo HaMelech there was peace, because Shlomo, as we know, had the perfection within Chachma. Vayechka mikol adam, he was the wisest of all men. That means to say that in addition to the idea of Malchus, kingship, he also had the Shleimus within Chachma. Furthermore, the Pasuk says, V'ateirev Chachmas Shleimus, Shleimus Chachma was greater, Mikol Chachmas Mitzrayim. Which really, this Pasuk is telling us in a sense, this idea of the advantage, the Chachma, that comes through Dafka, through the Golus, similar to the Aleph of Geula that we said before, coming Dafka out of the Golus, in a similar way over here, the Chachma of Shlomo coming out and being greater Dafka than the Chachma of Mitzrayim. And because Shlomo HaMelech had this great amount of Chachma, we are told that all of the wise Chachamim of the Goyim were completely bottled, completely nullified to the Chachma of Shlomo, and it didn't take any wars at all. And that's why it's called Shlomo, because Shalom Haya B'Yama, because there was peace in his days. In fact, the Goyim themselves brought to Shlomo all the holy sparks, as it is known regarding Malchus Emor, that she came to Shlomo HaMelech, which represents the idea that the Goyim themselves were bringing whatever needed to be elevated to Shlomo HaMelech. Similar to the Shalom that's going to be lost in Lavoi, when there will be there will be no harmful things and no wars, etc. Because the world will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem. And this is through the learning of Torah, which elevates and refines and gets rid of all of the bad, which is going to be La'asid Lavai, as it says, V'ro Chol Basar. We're going to have the Re'iyah, the seeing, through the level of Chachma, and therefore V'yeda Kol Pol, everyone is going to recognize Hashem. So in a similar way, by Shlomo HaMelech, because he also had this level of Chachma, because he had the Vayechka Mikol Adam, because he had this Chachma in the greatest way, so he too had Vayeshev Shlomo Al Kisei Hashem, he also had the peace in a general way. Similar to the way it's going to be La'asid Lavai, much more peaceful in comparison to the way it was by David HaMelech, regarding which there was certain Ketrugim, there were certain people that didn't like the fact that David HaMelech was king, etc., etc. Now, if Yidden would have been Zoiche, the Malchus of Shlomo would have been the perfect Malchus, and the first Beis HaMikdash would have been an everlasting Beis HaMikdash with the eternal Gula. But because there were certain negative things that got involved, as the Pasuk says, Karoya Ekras HaMamlacha, the Eibishter says he's going to split the kingship, and there's going to be two kingdoms, Malchus Yehuda and Malchus Yisrael, and then there was the Churban, and then a Churban Bayis Sheni, and this last Golus until finally Malchus will come back through Melech HaMashiach, which will be even a greater Malchus than Shlomo, the time when there's going to be Melech Echad Yiyeh L'Kulam, one king for all, and Yidden will not be divided anymore into two kingdoms, and the David Avdi Nasi Lahem Lo'ilam. Says the Rebbe, now we can understand the emphasis that Mashiach is going to come from David and from Shlomo, because the Chiddush of Mashiach is going to be that he's going to be made up of the qualities both of David, which is the idea of Malchus, as well as Shlomo, which is of course the idea of Shalom, of peace, and that is by Mashiach having the Shleimus of both the union of Malchus, of kingship, including Chachma Sheba Malchus, and as we said before, that which is revealed from the Golus and through the Golus itself, like Chachmas Mitzrayim. And furthermore, we say that the king, Mashiach, that's going to come from Zerah David, is actually going to be even a greater Chacham than Shlomo. So he's also going to have the Shleimus of Moichin, which we said before, the highest level of Moichin represents the level we call Pele, and that's of course in addition to having the Moichin which is related to the Midos and Malchus, as this is all seen in the Pasuk, V'nacha love Ruach Hashem. Pasuk says that on Mashiach is going to rest the spirit of Hashem, Ruach of Chachma and Bina, Ruach Eitzo Gvura, Ruach Das V'yiras Hashem. And as it's known that Mashiach is going to be both a Melech, a king, as well as a Rav, he's going to teach the people Torah. And of course, Torah includes also the Pnimius HaTorah, the level of Neflois HaTorah, and therefore Neflois Shabbat. And therefore, in conclusion, what the Rebbe was saying is that just like we said before, that by the Geula you have all of the different aspects of the Aleph, the level of Malchus, the level of the Moichin, the intellect, and finally the level of Pella, the wonder, that which is beyond intellect, or the deepest level of intellect, and so on. In a similar way, by Mashiach, we also have these three ideas: the idea of them being a Melech, Malchus, the idea of teaching Torah, the idea of moichin, and finally the idea of neflo is the union of Pnimiyus HaTorah. Says the Rebbe in Sif Zayin, in order that each and every Yid should have the koyach to receive this Gilui of Mashiach, we need to have that the Yid himself should also have something similar to these three levels of the Aleph, as it's known that each Yid also has a spark of Mashiach inside of him, and that's why each Yid says, we say this before Kriyas HaTorah on Yom Tov, V'yiskayim bonu mikra shekosav, that in us should be fulfilled, this pasuk mentioned previously, v'nocha alav, that will rest upon him, the ruach chachma, bina, etc., etc., the pasuk about Mashiach. So a Yid also has all of these different levels, the level of Malchus, the level of Midos, the level of the Moichin, the intellect that are connected to Midos, as well as the essence of the Moichin themselves. Says the Rebbe, this is the point of the Mishnah in the beginning of this Shabbos and Pirkei Avos Perek Revi, where the Mishnah goes through four things. Ezel Chacham, who is considered wise, Ezel Gibor, who is considered strong, Ezel Asher, who is considered rich, Ezel Mechubad, who is considered honorable. Now it's known that these four levels correspond to four general levels from which branch out, first of all, the 10 spheros up above, but from which also come out the 10 koiches on average, the 10 faculties by the person down here below, which all also correspond to the four letters of Shem Havayim. Ezel Chacham corresponds to the sphere of Chachma. Ezel Giboir corresponds to the sphere of Bina. The Rebbe doesn't go into it right over here, but in other places in Chassidus and Kabbalah it explains the connection between Bina and Gvura, also based on a pasuk, I need Vina li Gvura, but it's not the place right over here. Ezel Ashir. Ashir is corresponding to the midah of Tiferes, beauty and glory, which in a sense really is the main and general one of all the midos. And finally, Ezel Mechubad, the idea of honor, is connected to Malchus, which is honorable, etc. And since each and every Yid has a Chelek Elikami Ma'amamish, a part of Hashem inside of him. Furthermore, not only Chelek Elikah, but also the higher name of Shem Havaya, as the Pasuk says, Chelek Havaya Amoy, that the Yidin are part of Havaya. And we know that the Etzem, when you have the essence, even if you all have part of the essence, you have all of it. And therefore, every single Yid has all four letters of Eloikah, the level of Alufay Shalom, where the Eibush is the master of the world inside of him, as well as all four letters of Shem Havaya, the level of Elikus, which is higher than the world. And the Avodah of the Yid is to reveal these inyanim by himself, all of these four inyanim, and in a way of Lefnim Yishurus, and the whole idea of Pirkei Avos, as we know, is beyond the letter of the law. Mila de Chasidusa, as a Chassid does it, which is also similar to what we spoke before. The Nefla is the wondrous parts of Torah. And when a Yid has all of the four inyanim, all of these four aspects in himself, and he's accomplishing this within himself in the world, then we have the Shleimus of Malchus, the perfection of the Midah of Malchus, and the kingship and the kingdom of the way it's going to be by Mashiach. We have the Malchus, the throne, the Kisei HaMalchus, of four legs, as the Pasuk says, Vayeshev Shloimo al Kisei Havaya. So Shloimo is sitting on the throne of Hashem, in a similar way by each and every Yid, because all Yid are not considered princes, or even more so, each Yid is considered like a king, because each Yid gets a connection to this level of what we called before Ezel Mechubad, who is considered honorable, which honor, of course, is first and foremost coming from the honor of the Eibishter. And this, the Rebbe says, could be understood from a Kolshkin, from how much more so from a Melech, even from a Goyish king, regarding whom we say, Shenosan mechvoidoi lebasar vadom, that the Eibishter has given some of his honor to a human king. So surely this is the case by Yidden, and especially through their connection to Torah. And as we know, every single Yid has his special part and his special ois in Torah. And as the Pasuk says, Kol bonayich limudei Hashem, that all your children, all the Yidden are considered, so to speak, the students of the Eibishter. We also say Man Malker Rabbanon, who is considered the real Melech, the Chachamim. So by a Yid having a Shaychus to Torah, we also have the level of Chachma Sheba Malchus, like Shloima HaMelech. So we have, within the Malchus, we have the Chachma Sheba Malchus, and the perfect state of Malchus, as it includes all of the four inyanim, the Chacham, the Gibor, the Asher, and the Mechubad, and in such a way that we have the throne, so to speak, of 4 legs, that only then can you sit on it properly. Vayeshev Shloimeh al Kisei Hashem is when you have a proper throne, one could sit down on it. Says the Rebbe, and to add, when one sits down, so that also means he's lowering himself. The head of the king, as he sits down on the throne, is being lowered. But in that way, that means the people are getting more of a connection to the king, because he's lowering himself down to the people. Also, what happens when he sits down? His legs, his feet are lifted up onto hadoim ragloi, onto a footstool, which through this hamshacha milmailo lamata, on the one hand the king being drawn down, as well as ha'ala milmata lamailo, the idea that his feet are being lifted up, this causes the greatest chibur, the greatest union and bond between of Elikus and the world. The level of Elikus, the way it's higher in the world, all the way coming down into this world and into the Golus. Says the Rebbe, all of this is more emphasized standing on the day of Shabbos, which Shabbos generally corresponds to the Sphira of Malchus. Especially in the days of Sphira of this year, when we started counting Mimocharas Shabbos on the day after Shabbos on a Sunday, in the literal sense. And in that way, each one of the Shabboses within the days of Sphira Soimer is the Malchus of the Sphira of that week. So the first Shabbos was Malchus Sheba Chesed. Then we moved on to Malchus Sheba Gvura and then Malchus Sheba Teferes. Malchus Sheba Netzach, Malchus Sheba Hoid, and Malchus Sheba Yesoid. And finally Malchus Sheba Malchus. And this Shabbos being Malchus Sheba Hoid, which, as it's explained in Chassidus and Kabbalah, and we'll soon see about it more, is that this is a Sphira that actually includes all of the Sphiros, all the way to Malchus Sheba Malchus. And what does Malchus Sheba Hoid mean? Malchus, the way it's connected with the idea of Hoid. What does Hoid mean? We explained before that one of the meanings of Hoid is when one is admitting or submitting oneself to that which is completely beyond understanding, the idea of Pella, as we said before. Says the Rebbe in Seif Ches. To all of this is even added even more by the fact that we're standing the Shabbos just after Lag BaOmer, within 3 days of Lag BaOmer, which is of course the Yom Hilul and the Yom HaSimcha of Rab Shimon ben Yochai. Rab Shimon ben Yochai, of course, was the one that revealed the Pnimiyas HaTorah, the level we called before the Niflois, the wonders within Torah. And the main Gilui was on the day of his Histalkos. That's when the greatest Gilui of the deepest secrets of the Torah, the part that we call Nishmasa Din Nishmasa Doiraisa, the Neshama of the Neshama, the Pnimiyas of the secrets that he revealed throughout his whole lifetime. And by writing down these words in the Sefer HaZohar, it became even more revealed to all Bnei Yisrael, to all Yidden, in a way of Yisparnus, in a way that it can mamish sustain us, comes into our understanding. That is revealing the Neflois Sheba Torah, the deeper secrets of the Torah, in our Chachma, Bina, and Das. And this is in a sense a beginning, something similar to the Gili Pnimiyas HaTorah, the way it's going to be lost and lovely. In addition to that, Rab Shimon ben Yochai was also the one that connected Pnimiyas HaTorah and Nigla the Torah. The Shloimer said, it says the Rebbe, that within Torah itself, Nigla the Torah and Pnimiyas HaTorah are similar to the two aspects of the Aleph, one being from the expression of Ulfan of Alimud, that means learning and teaching and wisdom, the level of wisdom, the way it's still somehow connected to the Midas and to the world. And then Pnimiyas HaTorah being the Aleph, the letters of Pella, a wonder, the way it's the essence of Moich and that which is removed from the world. And Reb Shimon ben Yochai connected and combined both of these together. Says the Rebbe V'yesh Loimar, that it was with this koyach that he also gives the koyach for Gili Elikus, for the revelation of godliness, that which is higher than the world, bringing that down into the world. As a famous saying, the Gemara says, Tanya, we learned in the Berais, Reb Shimon ben Yochai says that wherever Yidden go, wherever the Yisrael go, the Shechina goes with them. Galul Bavel, the Yidden went to Galus and Bavel, the Shechina is with them. The Yidden went to Edom, the Shechina is with them. That means that as Yidden are in Galus, in Bavel, they have the Alufay Shaloilam, Shechina Imam, the Shechina with them. And furthermore, Rab Shimon ben Yochai brings this about also in the whole world. As Rab Shimon ben Yochai says another statement, I am able to exempt the whole world minadin, from judgment. That means to say that he is able to exempt and to have the world get rid of all of the helam v'hester, all of the concealments of din, of judgment, including the judgment of Galus. Says the Rebbe, we could connect this also all with the Sphira of Lag BaOmer. The Sphira of Lag BaOmer is Hoid Sheba Hoid. What does Hoid Sheba Hoid mean? So first of all, Hoid we said before is Malashon Hoidah, which means admitting. Admitting is to something when we're coming to recognize something that's higher than Seichel, higher than understanding. Hoid Sheba Hoid is relating to a level that's completely Pella, as we said before, something beyond knowledge and understanding completely. But from that Pella, from that thing which is beyond understanding, comes into the Aleph. We said before, Pella is the same level letters as Aleph, which Aleph also means into understanding. Furthermore, the Rebbe says, the significance of Hoid Sheba Hoid, it's explained in Chassidus that Hoid is in a sense really the end of the main Midos. Afterwards we have, of course, Dvar Malchus, but in a sense they are considered what's called Dvar Miguf, already certain external extensions of the spheroids to the outside and so on. But within the person himself, Hoid is in a sense considered the last of the main Midos. Hoid includes inside of itself all of the Midos. First of all, the Midos as they are. We said before that Asher, Ezel Asher represents Teferis, which is the main one of the Midos. So it includes all the way from the higher Midos down to the lowest Midos, to Malchus Sheba Malchus, which is hinted in the word Mechubad. We said before the honorable one, that's the Indian of Malchus. That's of course in addition to the fact that it also includes the Moichin from which all the Midos come. The Moichin, which is Chachma and Bina, which is hinted in the words Chacham and Gibor that we mentioned before. In addition to that, Hoid is also the fifth Sphira. The significance of the fifth Sphira is hinted in the pasuk that says Hachamishis leparoi, which is a pasuk that Yosef was referring to the way Mitzrayim, what had to be given to Paro and what the Egyptians were able to keep, etc., etc. But Chassidus explains that this also refers to a very high level. Paro represents a level called Ispiriu v'Izgal Yiminei Kol Noid, and Paro means revelation. The level from where all the oiros are revealed and come about. A level that's beyond Seder Ishtalshalos completely. And Hachamishis LaParoi, the fifth, is shaykh to this level of Paroi, to this level that's beyond Seder Ishtalshalos. So again, Hoid being a hint to this level that's beyond it all, but that itself becomes the regular and permanent Seder, the way things go, La'asid Lavoy. Says the Rebbe in Siftes, from Rab Shimon ben Yochai, later this came down, the Gilui Pnimi Satoida, into the later generations. First of all to the generation of the Arizal, when it became a mitzvah to reveal this Chachma, and then even more so through the revelation of Chassidus, through the Baal Shem Tov and the Magid, the founders of Toras Chassidus HaKlolis, even more so through the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Toras Chassidus Chabad, and Rabbi Seinu Nesienu, our Rabbeim, the Mamali Mekoimer from the Alter Rebbe. This is all learning Pnimiyas HaTorah in a way of Chachma, Bina, V'das, in a way of understanding and spreading Chassidus to the outside, starting with the outside of the person himself, his own koichus and his nefesh habahamis, all the way to the chutza as it is within the world, similar in a taste from the Gili of Pnimiyas HaTorah, the way it's going to be by the Geula HaSidah, the Geula HaMitzvah Shlema. And in this way it kept on being added more and more through Rabbi Seinu, Nesienu, the Mamali Mekoyim, from generation to generation, until Kvoit, Kedushas Meir V'cham Yad Mur Nesiderenu, until the Giluyim of Pnimiyas HaTorah of this generation, and this itself is being added from every single year more and more, until the greatest Giluyim of these days by Kisvei Yad, of manuscripts of Maimorim of Chassidus, which are being printed currently, and in a way, as we said before, that we're drawing down from the Neflois Sheba Torah, from these wondrous parts of Torah, from the level of Pella, into understanding, into all of the Koiches HaNefesh, into all of our faculties of our Chachma, Bina, Midos, and Malchus, and to use the famous words of the Alter Rebbe on the Pasuk, Maskil Le'eson HaEzrachi, which is the beginning of Kapitel Peites. Just to note, of course, the Rebbe was 89 years old during this time, and the Rebbe had just finished Kapitel Peites, and now was already into Kapitel Tzadik, and the Rebbe is explaining things of both Kapitel Peites and Tzadik. So a Maskil Eison Ezrachi, the Alter Rebbe says that Eison refers to the Etzem HaNeshama, that strongest, deepest part of the Neshama, the level which we would call Pella. But there's the level of Maskil that through the Seichel, this essence of the Neshama is shining, Maskil Eison HaEzrachi, that through the maskil it is shining down into all of the other koyachas and faculties, that this koyach ha-maskil, this koyach that's higher than seichel, the koyach that's the root for seichel, is drawing down that which is higher than seichel into seichel, And even though this is going to be mainly la'as and lavoy, but it's already being achieved right now. And from this capital peites, this gives us the koyach to continue to draw down Elikus into the world, into that level of alufi shaloilam. As the pasuk, the capital concludes with Baruch Hashem la'olam amen v'amen, drawing down Elikus into the world in an everlasting way. And then we come to capital Tzadik, Tfilu l'Moshe Isha Elikim, and finishes off with the words V'inoyam Hashem Elikeinu Aleinu, may the pleasantness of Hashem be upon us. The Gilui of Noyam Hashem, of the pleasure of Hashem, which is the level of Tainug, of Atik in the language of Chassidus, and all the way to U'maisi Yadeinu Koinenu Aleinu, U'maisi Yadeinu Koineneu, that this refers to the Gilui of the Eibishter's real dwelling place, the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, and simply that through learning Torah generally, and specifically learning Pnimiyas HaTorah, as it's explained in Torah Chassidus, including by Mistakel B'fnei Harav, looking at the face of the Rebbe, at the shine of the Rebbe's face. Chachmas Adam Torah, part of the wisdom of a person illuminates his face. That adds in the understanding of the learning. As the Chazal say, the Rebbe said that the fact that I was sharper than all of my colleagues was because I saw Reb Meir from his back, and if I would have seen him from the front, I would have been even sharper. As the pasuk says, by all of this, it becomes a keli to Gili Elikus in the world, including drawing down and revealing the koyach of the Eibishter in creation, in a way that we could see it, and in a way that also is in a way of chachma, which is also the idea of re'iyah of chachma. And furthermore, the gili of the koyach ha'atzmos, the koyach of the very essence of Hashem in the created being, that the Eibishter alone is the one that could bring things from nothing into something, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya Kadisha, starting with the avoid of the Yid himself, as it's explained in the beginning of Tanya. That the avoid by a Yid is not only in Sur Meirav, Alti Rasha, not to be a Rasha, but also to hit Tzaddik, to be a Tzaddik. Even though not every Yid is Zoicha to be a Tzaddik, and a person seemingly doesn't have so much free choice in this matter, because we are in a Shama Beguf and an Nefesh Habahamis in this physical materialistic world, but by the fact that we have the Koyach HaAtzmos, the very essence of Hashem, in the Guf HaGashmi, the physical body of a Yid, this gives a Yid a Koyach that even as he's down here, he should be able to reach the highest levels, all the way to Tehit Tzaddik, at least by doing his part to fulfill the promise of Mashbiyah Moisei Tehit Tzaddik. Furthermore, as the Alter Rebbe says, when you do something again and again, it becomes second nature. And when you accustom yourself to this, through your Isarusa L'Sata, through your Avodah, you could draw down from Hashem, and who knows, you might be Zoicha to part of a Neshama of a Tzaddik to come into you. And now says the Rebbe, an amazing Chiddush, V'yesh Loimar, that after all of the Avodah of the Yidden did throughout the generations, now certainly every single Yid can come to the highest levels of Tehit Tzaddik in a revealed way, the Gili of Amich Kulam Tzaddikim, as it will be in a revealed way, Begula Mitzvah Shlema. And furthermore, through the avodah of spreading Chassidus to the outside, we have the koyach to reveal and to draw down Elikus into the world, to the greatest and furthest places. And all of this becomes the preparation and the keli for V'nigla K'vei for the Eibishter's glory being revealed, Begula Mitzvah Shlema, when the whole world will be occupied only with the knowledge of Hashem, the revelation of Pnimiyas HaTorah, and in a way of V'hayu Einecha, Royus Esmeirecha, that we will be able to see godliness clearly. Concludes the Rebbe in Sifyu, the Hayrah from all of this simply regarding the activities the Yidden need to do to hasten even more the Gula. In addition to what we are doing in our own part of the world and in the whole world, to reveal how the Eibishter is, the master of the world, the boss of the world, in each and every detail of the world. Especially this is by utilizing all matters of the world, L'Shem Shemayim and Do'eyu, so that each and everything is revealing the glory of the Eibishter. There needs to be an addition, specifically in the learning of Torah, and even more so in Pnimiyas HaTorah, as it's revealed in Chassidus, in a way of Avon of Asog, in a way of understanding in Chachma Bina Das. And also to influence everyone around us by spreading Torah and Yiddishkeit and Chassidus. And Yehi Ratzoin, that through the avodah of completing, bringing in the Aleph into Goyla, this should bring immediately the Gula take of Miyad Mamash, so that as Yidden are in their current state right now, with the current garments the way we are right now, even if they are soiled, but the Geula comes in a way of Le'ikvan Afilu Ke'erafayim, comes immediately, and only after the Geula We are told to remove the soiled garments, and especially if we're speaking about the Amich Kulam Tzadikim, that everyone is perfect already, and all the Yidden with our young and our old, with our sons and our daughters, go together with all of their things, with their silver and their gold, especially with the shuls and the Bati Medrash, and the Sifrei Torah, including the Sefer Torah that was just completed this week, so there was obviously a Siyum Sefer Torah that week, through the input and the effort of Nesheyu B'nois Yisrael, together with the Siyum and Seder of Achnasa Sefer Torah with great simcha, joy and dancing, and of course connected also with adding in tzedakah, which brings about closer to Gula. So we should all come together to Eretz HaKodesh, to Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, to Har HaKodesh, and Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, the Beis HaMikdash that Hashem Himself makes.